After 3 bunch sprints and a team time trial, the 2018 Tour de France has changed its tone on the rolling roads of Brittany. Wednesday's Ardennes-esque stage to Quimper saw a nervy peloton stretched on narrow roads and sharp inclines, but the first true test in the battle for the yellow jersey comes on Thursday on the Mur-de-Bretagne, also known as the Alpe d'Huez of Brittany. Of course, the 2 km climb bears little resemblance to the 21 hairpins and near -2,000-meter altitude of that mythical alpine ascent, but it nevertheless stands out in Brittany, both literally and figuratively. Cycling is part of the fabric in this region in the northwestern corner of France, which has its own culture and a strong sense of regional identity and pride among its people, the Bretons. With no real mountains in sight, Mur-de-Bretagne has become something of an icon. "We have our own Alpe d'Huez in the Mur-de-Bretagne," said Warren Barguil, Fortuneau Samsic, in Tuesday's L'Équipe, in a group interview with the Bretons present at the Tour. "If one of us wins there, he'll be royalty, much more than if he wins at Alpe d'Huez or Mont Ventoux, like the double ascent of Alpe d'Huez in 2015. Thursday's Stage 7 will take the peloton up Mur-de-Bretagne twice. In the final 20 kilometers, the first ascent taking the riders up to and over the finish line before a 14 kilometers loop round to take it on again in what will be a lung-busting grind to the line. The climb starts out on a wide country road that somewhat disguises the severity with which the road pitches uphill. Gradients hit 10% and pretty much stay there for the first kilometer, before easing slightly in the next few hundred meters and then becoming more gentle inside of the line. The official figures are 2 kilometers in length with an average gradient of 6.9%. It's a tough climb, but above all very hard at the bottom. Alexis Villermoz, AG2R Le Mondial, tells Cycling News, the Frenchman having been victorious the last time the Tour finished at Mur-de-Bretagne, in 2015. After that it levels out slightly, but even that doesn't make it easier because you have the lactic acid and the fatigue quickly accumulating. In order to try and win, you then have to try and break the rhythm to accelerate, when you're already pretty close to the limit. That's the hardest part of it, finding a way to accelerate. General classification hit out. The first 9 stages of this Tour de France contain a number of pitfalls for the yellow jersey contenders, not least the cobbles this coming Sunday, but the open hostilities are largely reserved for the mountains in the second half of the race. Stage 7, running 181 kilometers from Brest, contains little else of real difficulty, but the Mur nevertheless represents an important juncture in the race. It's not going to be make or break, but it could nevertheless see some seconds won and lost, and will surely provide more of a glimpse of who might have the legs to impose themselves later in the race. I think we'll already see some interesting gaps. We'll get a glimpse of who's in good shape and then we can expect some small gaps. The gaps will come about more through weakness than strength, if someone's not on a good day, for example. Team Sky DS Nicolas Portal told Cycling News, "We've had plenty of flat, and the team time trial and everything, so the first hard climb like that can be very complicated. I think there'll be some small gaps, but all the main guys should come in more or less in the same group." When Villermoz won in 2015, he attacked on the steep part before settling back into the group and then kicking again once Chris Froome, Team Sky, had lined out the thinning bunch. Dan Martin, UAE Team Emirates, finished 5 seconds back. A group of 25 of the main players finished a further 5 seconds behind, even if Vincenzo Nibali, Bahrain Merida, lost time as part of a disappointing tour. The previous appearance saw Cadel Evans pip Alberto Contador to the line in 2011, and although no big names lost more than 8 seconds, one of those flagging was Andy Schleck, from whom Evans would snatch yellow on the penultimate day. In principle it won't be a critical stage. "We saw the Mur 3 years ago and the differences were minimal, less than the bonus seconds on the line," said movie star DS Jose Luis Arrieta. "It's a day where Alejandro has options, but the priority is to get through the day without any complications. Bonus seconds and yellow jersey, double dose of Mur-de-Bretagne poses its own unique challenge. The riders will already have one ascent in the legs and lungs and will barely be able to recover on the rolling but largely downhill run back around to the foot of the climb. Another factor to take into account is the point bonus, the new initiative in place at this year's tour whereby bonus seconds are on offer at designated points towards the end of the first 9 stages, much like an intermediate sprint without the points. Here it is positioned 3 kilometers beyond the top of the climb, after a 2-kilometer descent, and another steep uphill kilometer to St. Maio. The offering of 3, 2, and 1 seconds for the first 3 across the line may not be decisive, and so far the general classification riders haven't shown any real interest, but Wednesday's stage showed that they could play a role with the non-GC riders who are still up towards the top of the general classification. If a guy is strong enough to make a break there, I think that would be interesting, says Willermoes. Even more so given that this year there are 2 ascents, which will cream out the peloton. Julian Alaphilippe quick-step floors, hit out at the bonus point on Wednesday and thus moved to within 6 seconds of Greg Van Avermaet's overall lead. The Frenchman may be minded to go again after the first ascent of Mur-de-Bretagne, but equally may save himself for the final ascent, with a stage win, which carries 10 bonus seconds, likely to propel him into yellow. Alaphilippe was the name Van Avermaet, BMC Racing, reached for in his post-stage press conference when asked who would win on the Mur. If that came true, the Belgian would need to finish at least 3rd to stay in yellow. Alaphilippe's quick-step teammate Philippe Gilbert, at 3 seconds, is also a threat, as is Geraint Thomas, Team Sky, 4th at 5 seconds. Elsewhere there are plenty of candidates for the stage win, if not yellow, not least Alejandro Valverde, movie star, a 5-time winner of La Flèche Wallonne, and Martin, a 3-time podium finisher.